one of the things that creates the fear of release, you want it to make a splash. And if it doesn't make a splash, you've failed. You've got a stone and an infinite ocean. Oh no! I expected it to be like a tidal wave. I've often noticed aspiring artists don't release music for two almost opposing, but in another sense similar reasons. I feel like I'm throwing my music into the abyss, just shooting it off into the nothingness. And the other is I don't want to clutter the internet with music that's not good enough. If, for example, you have thought both of these things at the same time, which is it? If you want to create a problem that stops you from doing something, let's at least choose one and not have two that are diametrically opposed to each other. But I would say that both are based upon a false premise, a false assumption. Okay, I mean, I've felt these feelings too. I absolutely have felt them too. I mean, with the abyss, standing at the side, looking in to this big black hole in any direction, its size I actually can't tell because it just goes off into the distance. It's too massive for me to comprehend what it is how I felt when I first released a vinyl record in 1995. And its unknown size essentially to me makes it infinite, right? Plus now it's growing. But from my perspective as an artist, its unknown size and therefore effectively infinite, it's exactly the same back then when there was a lot less music released as it is now when I did a quick Google and it seems there are roughly, according to someone or other, 120,000 songs released to streaming services daily. And this is only going to grow exponentially with AI music. But if you feel that this is getting worse, recognize that from your perspective, it is actually no worse than it was before because it's just an effectively infinite space. We are no worse off in a sense than we've ever been as a solo artist looking to this abyss. There has always been too many people. Hang on a minute. Too many people? What do you mean? There's too many people who could potentially enjoy my music. Does that sound like a problem? Maybe not. Maybe it isn't a problem. Maybe it's an opportunity. If you, instead of focusing on what you don't control, you accept the way that it is, and in a sense has always been. Back in 1994, 95, mid-90s, there were thousands of vinyls released every week in the UK alone. And I was shooting my music off into an abyss of unknown numbers of people. The benefit of actually doing it physically is it feels more real. It's less up in your head. So I could actually do something like go to a record store and go, "Oh, mate, do you want to buy one of these? Do you want to buy some of these?" Okay, so that kind of feels more certain, right? But in reality, I could never make a dent on that abyss. So what I needed to do, and what I still do, is instead of focusing on where it's going, focus on what I do control, what I can create. It always felt to me like I had this ability by being a musician, and this was even in the days of physical, when you actually had to spend money, spend a significant amount of money to get something pressed up. Leave aside all of the money that you absolutely needed to get the equipment. I mean, you still do spend money on equipment now, obviously. But what I mean is you can make music almost for free now. Okay, so but leaving that aside, actually having to spend money to put it on a physical thing and spend money for someone to drive it on vans, right, to an actual place. Even in that situation, what it felt like to me was that there was nothing there. And what I could do was I could make something of value to other people out of thin air. That's even more the case now with digital distribution. So I still recognize that we do have this feeling of shooting it into the abyss when we think about the vast empty space of the internet. Okay, but that isn't a useful way of thinking about it, because if you don't think about it as shooting music into the abyss, instead you think about it as building something. You're standing on the edge of the precipice on firm ground, and every piece of music that you make is building a lighthouse. It starts out as a very small lighthouse. Every piece of music, and also every video, email, social post, image that you add, is making the lighthouse glow brighter with a more unique glow, shining into the abyss. Every track that you make, every EP that you make and release, every album that you make and release, the more that you talk about what you are making, your glow is getting more bright and attracting more and more people. This is how I view every piece of content, which is I hate that word, but anyway, it's a good word for describing all of the things I just said. So that's how I view releasing every piece of content that I make, that I am building a lighthouse, a beacon to attract more people towards me. Not only is that more helpful for my psychology, just think about the difference for you right now. Think about how that changes what you do and how you do it. Not only is it helpful for your psychology, it is also more true. Again, it's a metaphor, so it's not absolutely true. I don't have a lighthouse, believe it or not. But it is more realistic for the way that it actually works. Because the abyss is and always was unknown, infinite, always growing. Okay, and it motivates and excites you to build, grow, and glow brighter. The other thing is, talking about I don't want to clutter up the internet with my bad stuff, is it protects you from that thinking. You stop worrying about what they will think. You're building a lighthouse that attracts from the abyss, from the people who are lost in the abyss, worrying about all of the terrible things that are going on in the world. It attracts these people, but also repels the people who aren't your people. But that's okay. Why? Because remember, the problem with the abyss, supposedly, is that it's infinite. So there are effectively infinite people in there. So it doesn't matter that some people are going to be repelled by your music. The people who don't like it are going to go, oh, I don't like that, and then forget about it. And yeah, you get trolls. Yeah, you get people who are just saying nasty things, but they'll be gone. It's nothing that you need to worry about, because infinite, effectively infinite, not mathematically, infinite people could be attracted to your ever brighter lighthouse. One of the things that creates the fear of release, you're focused very closely on this single piece of music. You want it to make a splash. And if it doesn't make a splash, you've failed. You've got a stone and an infinite ocean. Oh no! I expected it to be like a tidal wave. Seriously? Is that what you're expecting with one piece of music? Okay, let's just get a little bit more realistic here. Okay. What you are doing is you're not trying to create a splash with each of your pieces of music. I mean, it's helpful if you do, or if you can. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you're incredibly lucky. So some people win the lottery, right? But we can't rely on lottery-like luck. You're not creating a splash. What you're doing is you're creating a connection.